Hello everyone. This is the first of a series of sessions where we answer questions that people submit from all around the world. We've had hundreds of questions. We've chosen a few of them for today. I'm going to go through them with you. So the very first one is from Andrew in Newark. It seems hard to escape bad news these days. What gives you grounds for optimism? There's been two great books published in the course of this year, both of which are worth a read. One's by a guy called Steven Pinker called Enlightenment. The other's by someone called Hans Rosling, which is called Factfulness. And basically, the thesis of both books is very simple, which is that if you take a step back from all the daily news and you look at the arc of human progress, actually there's been enormous change and progress over the last 30, 40 years. More people lifted out of poverty than ever before in human history. Life expectancy is up. Killer diseases like malaria and polio and HIV/AIDS, all of them have come down. And actually the European Union is a cause for optimism. For centuries, Europe was at war, and the last 70 years or so, it's been at peace. Take a country like Ethiopia, literally the poster child for the most extreme poverty back in the 1980s. Today, on its feet, growing, lots of challenges still, but doing pretty well. What I find gives me particular cause for optimism is anywhere I go in the world, in the end, people really want the same things. And they don't really wish bad on other people. For all its difficulties, humanity's doing much better than it was. This is an interesting one from David and Corby. What is the one thing you miss most about being Prime Minister? Well, I can tell you what I miss least, which is Prime Minister's question time. Yeah. Most days, if I miss it, it's because I've forgotten what it was really like. But when the country's in a really bad crisis, that's actually when you miss the job. You don't miss it when everything's running relatively smoothly. Why is the centre so unpopular globally? Are there genuine problems, but the centre is failing to address them successfully? Or is the move to extremes being driven by identity politics? The centre's under pressure for sure. Populism of left and right seems pretty dominant. Donald Trump in America, you have the Brexit vote in Britain, the new president of Brazil, populism on the left, in a way winning in Mexico recently. The centre, I think, fails if it becomes the place of the status quo. It can only succeed if it goes back to being change makers. In my view, the centre ground has got to become the radical centre. It's got to provide answers to the underlying grievances that are fueling the populism. Just recently, I've been talking a lot about the technological revolution. It's going to change the way we live and work and think. Preparing for that is going to be the next really big policy challenge for government. The problem, though, with the populism of right or left is that it's more about seeking someone to blame, riding the anger, not providing the answer. Macron has shown in France that the centre ground can still win. I actually think here in the UK, it would win if it was on offer, which it's not at the moment. But the centre ground's got a big challenge. It's got to renew, it's got to revive itself, and can only do that if it's providing programs that are sensible, but also meet the insistent desire that people have for change. If you were running for office today, how would the approach you take now compare to your approach in 1997? I think the basic philosophy would be the same, by the way. I mean, what we tried to do in 1997 was bring the country together. The thing that would really change are the policies, because I think today we live in a completely different world 21 years on, and though some of the areas that I would want to work on, education, infrastructure, healthcare, law and order, would be similar, I think the way of doing it would be very different. And I'd put at the heart of that the changes in technology, the technological revolution. I would focus particularly on the people and the communities that globalization is leaving behind. I'm a believer in globalization. I think it's basically a force for good, not bad. But if you do believe in it, you've got to acknowledge that it also can leave people behind. And those people, whether they're individuals or communities, they need help.
On that, would you have things going to get better as the same campaign slogan?
Maybe things can only get better. Actually, it would be more appropriate today even than in 1997. Luke, all the way from New Zealand, if you were in office today and could only fix one thing, what would it be? Brexit. We had the slogan education as the three priorities of the government. It's probably even more important today because it's so obvious today that you need education throughout life. You need to start in the early years, you need to carry on through schooling, But nowadays, people are going to have to carry on updating their skills all the way through their adult life. What are the top 3 things you would suggest we can each do to make globalization work for the many? You as an individual can try and reach out to people that are different from you. They may be in a different faith, different culture, different ethnicity. It's also possible to get involved in political campaigns, to make sure that you're contributing as you can as a citizen of your country and showing that you actually care about the way the world develops. And then I think one of the things that is most important for any individual is actually to try and absorb as much knowledge as you can of what's happening in the world. And that also contributes to your ability to help shape it and change it in the right way. The Institute, as you know, does a lot of work, for example, in Africa. We've got projects in 14 different countries. We work with the governments there, with teams of people, go and live and work alongside the government people. Hi, Tony. I'm getting very concerned about the no-deal Brexit scenario. If you were leader of the Labour Party today, what would you do to stop Brexit? There is no Brexit deal that's palatable. A no-deal Brexit is obviously a complete disaster. We shouldn't be forced to choose between that, which is a really bad deal, and no-deal Brexit. There is an alternative. It's on the basis of what we now know to go back to the people. I'd be trying to mobilize us as a political party to say to people, we understand why you voted for Brexit. We're going to deal with the underlying grievances, and hopefully on the basis of what I think, if Britain were prepared to think again, Europe would offer us. Because I think there's been a big change in the politics of Europe in the last 2.5 years as well. And by the way, I don't think there's anything undemocratic about that. I think it's perfectly democratic. With a decision this big, given all the changes that have happened in the last 2.5 years, given the fact that the government's negotiation has turned into a nightmare, why on earth shouldn't we have the final say as the people of the country? And I hope even at this late stage, by the way, that the present Labour leadership does come into that position, because if it did, you would definitely have another vote. Next question from Roberta in Edinburgh. What is the most important action for individuals to take to help counter religious extremism? I honestly believe most people want to practice their faith in peace and don't see any contradiction between their own strong belief in their own faith and acknowledging the faith of others. But there is a small minority, often very vocal, sometimes very violent, who want to stop that coexistence happening. What is necessary for us as individuals to do, but society as a whole, is to put against that sort of very divisive form of religious ideology a message of coexistence, showing how in an interconnected world, dividing according to religion or faith so that you end up thinking someone who doesn't think the same as you or believe the same as you is your enemy is both counterproductive, actually a crazy thing to do in today's world. What do you think is more likely? Members of the UK government playing an influential role at the heart of the EU, or Newcastle United winning the Premiership? Mark, I am a Newcastle fan. Winning the Premiership might be a little bit of a lift this year. I have to say, I think Rafa Benitez is doing an amazing job with the team. And actually, they've had some great results recently. So you never know. It certainly is, at this present moment in time, more likely than members of the British government playing a leading role at the heart of the EU, because obviously Brexit is going to take us out of the EU. The irony, however, is that if we only manage to change this Brexit decision and stay in the European Union, there's huge opportunities for any British government to play a leadership role in Europe right now on issues like energy and the environment, on the tech revolution, on security and defence cooperation. Huge amount more we can do for cooperation in the university sector across Europe. There's masses we could do, but that'll only be if we manage to escape from this Brexit nightmare. I'm a little more optimistic now about Newcastle staying up in the Premiership and even doing better than that. We're going to do more of these, keep them coming in, so thanks very much.